All right, Corey Cook, the most exciting night in cinema is, of course, the Oscars. The most exciting 2 weeks in cinema is probably the Cannes Film Festival. It just wrapped up in France. One of the more intriguing elements to come out of this whole festival is the fact that supposedly people who were there got to see a full length AI created film. Is that right?
So here's an interesting distinction that I found out today. There are movies that go on during the Cannes Film Festival that are not in the festival. So you see stuff, and sometimes it
It's
says,
like off Broadway.
screened it's yeah, that like screened at Cannes when it really wasn't in the actual festival. This goes on all the time because there's also marketing and things that are there's sales that are going on,
That makes
trying to
sense.
get deals made. Like there's a huge thing going on with Florence Pugh and the Midnight Library. That's like people are going gaga trying to buy this thing for distribution. But I just wanted to draw that distinction for our listeners, is that can very much happen. Well, this movie called Grindhouse, Jesus, this movie called Hell Grind, which was AI produced, which except for the screenplay apparently, was screened not at the Cannes Film Festival, but it was like an invite-only situation where several different critics and whatnot. And it's been interesting because my former coworker Chris Bumbray, who from JoeBlow.com, as he's been doing stuff for years, this is the first time he actually ever has gotten to go to the Cannes Film Festival. It's like been one of his bucket list things, and he surprisingly got like a secret invite to go watch this movie.
That's great.
And I read his review. I'll just read kind of the last portion of this because I think it's telling. He says, if filmmakers eventually combine real actors, writers, cinematographers, editors, and technicians with AI assisted tools, it's possible something genuinely interesting could emerge. Whether that's good or bad for the industry remains to be seen, but it does feel inevitable that AI will become part of the process in some capacity. What Hellgrind ultimately feels like, however, is less like a movie and more like an experiment, or perhaps a rough sketch of where this technology could eventually lead. That alone made it something I wanted to get eyes on, but as an actual film experience, I found it tedious, and it doesn't come close to matching even the weakest movies made by real human beings. And honestly, I think those couple paragraphs encapsulate everything that you and I have been saying about AI ad nauseum for over a year now. And also, to be clear, and I think this is very telling, Chris didn't even bother to give this thing a rating. That's how little I think he thinks of whatever this was. It wasn't a film. It was trying to be a proof of concept situation. And I guess there was a lot of stuff where like some of it was borderline racist, where like the black characters were saying bro and dog like every other sentence. And like it was just like I've heard nothing but horrendous things from this. And I agree with him in the sense that it's going to be used as a tool. And if it can be used as a tool to supplement things, I'm kind of in that space where I'm not sure 100% how I feel about it, but I'm much more comfortable with that than something that is completely and utterly AI generated.
It's too early in the game to really judge what this
Yeah,
can do. That's the thing. Because even at its best, even if we said, "Hey, we want to see a movie with, Kevin Spacey and Denzel Washington, and it's a buddy cop movie, and it's set in the south of France, and it's going to be all, Public Enemy music, and it comes out like that, a 2-hour film, right? Let's say we can give it all the ingredients, and then boom, it pumps it out. I don't think we're going to get to that point. Like, I think we're always going to be able to tell, okay, that's AI, even at its best. Even when AI reaches its absolute peak, I still think it's not going to be there.
it's going to be a while till it gets to that point. I think it's ever evolving in honestly 10 years from now, possibly. But it's interesting because of the fact that I did a little experiment just for shits and giggles. I had a break at work. I got bored. I said, I'm going to try something. And I went to ChatGPT and I gave like a 2-paragraph thing of an Indiana Jones movie concept. I put in the MacGuffin, I put in the locations, I put in what kind of theme I wanted, characters, so I wanted to include everything. And what it spat out to me as like an outline, because I said, give me an outline from soup to nuts, opening scene to bottom. Didn't flesh out a ton of stuff, but just, kind of like a bones thing. And I read it, what I got out of it. And I sent it to you. And yes, some of it was derivative, but I looked at this and I said to myself, if the right people were behind this and the right actors and screenwriters, I would watch the hell out of this movie. Which
It's
to
a
me
tool.
is like, okay, you've
But that's
started with
but
some,
that's the writing aspect. Like, I feel like that's
yeah.
the part that AI, if anything, could probably get right. It probably could come up with some decent ideas. I think the
Mhm.
worry is that it will AI do everything in term from cinematography to the editing to
That's
do we
that's a
even need the actors? That's
That's
the
a bridge too.
scary part.
See, to me, that is a bridge too far. And
Yeah.
I know that is, I'm sorry, call me an old fuddy duddy, whatever you want. That's the line in my sand.
Well,
If
I
you're
think
a
that's the
line in
line
the
for in a
sand
lot
for
of
me.
people's saying. That's the
Like,
thing. I think we
why?
don't know how to judge this thing because everybody's at a different space of
Mhm.
where AI is. Like some of us think only of what we've seen so far. I think other folks are thinking, hey, what about like 10 years down the road? And I don't like what that could become. I think that's the tough part. Nobody's on the same page literally with AI.
It's an emerging technology. And I think some people are they're very Ned Ludd. Whoever, if you know that name, Luddites back in the early late 1700s, early 1800s, smashing weaver machines and things like that. That there's people who want to, basically not have anything to do with it all, and then it's trash. Um, it's I don't know how I feel about that situation. I think these huge, gigantic AI data centers that are being put up at places where people don't want them and are, taking up a lot of resources in terms of water and pollution, all this stuff. I think I don't agree with that at all. But in terms of actually as a creative tool, again, I think it's too early to see where we're going. I just don't want to see AI as a whole take over every single job out there, regardless of if it's in the creative element or not, because then you are literally going to have millions of people jobless. And then what do you do?
Yeah,
So,
that's a whole nother
that's a whole
conversation.
nother conversation, but still.